رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: الحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة. صلوات. In the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful, master of all the worlds, creator of the heavens and the earth. Tonight's topic is on the biography of one of the most underrepresented Imams of Ahlul Bayt. When it comes to Muharram, the spotlight is all on Imam Hassan. The story is about Imam Hassan. When it comes to Ghadir, the story is on Amir al-Mu'mineen. When it comes to, for example, the birth anniversaries, many of the times we celebrate the birth anniversary of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When it comes to the birth anniversary of Imam al-Zaman, we celebrate it on the 15th of Sha'ban. But very rarely will you get a lecture about Imam al-Hassan. Imam Ali is your first Imam. You know a lot about it because there is a lot of stories about his bravery, about his piety, about his principles that you learn about Imam Ali. Very well known. Imam Hussein likewise. So Imam Hussein, you learn a lot about him because you come here 10 nights majalis and our scholars will provide a lot of information on Imam Hussein. But there is little touch on Imam al-Hassan. And sometimes it gets to the point where there are misconceptions about Imam al-Hassan. If I was to ask you, how much do you know about Imam al-Hassan? The very basic understanding that somebody will give me is that he's the son of Ali and the son of Fatima and the grandson of the Holy Prophet. And let's say, for example, he was the successor of Imam Ali and then he lived his life, some say a very passive life, until his death where he was poisoned. But Imam lived for over 40 years. Surely something I can learn from Imam. Imam lived during the period of his grandfather. He lived during the period of his father. He lived during the period of his mother. Surely something in his life I can take a lesson out of. And unfortunately, this is why I said he was an underrepresented Imam. We don't talk much about Imam Hassan bin Ali alayhi salam. There is a slogan that a lot of Shias love to say. They say, live like Ali, die like Hussein. Why did you forget the Imam in the middle? Imam al-Hassan. Why don't you say live like Ali, die like Hassan? Or live like Hassan, die like Hussein? Nobody says it. Why? Because it's the lack of understanding or the lack of ma'rifah of Imam al-Hassan. So inshallah tonight, with the limited time that we have, we'll see what we can learn from the life of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. For many people, Imam al-Hassan is viewed as very shy Imam, very passive Imam, very, if I was to use today's generation language, very low-key. Not much, not getting himself too much involved into the worldly affairs or the community affairs. Whereas if you look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, you clearly see, participated in battles, he was there with the Prophet, and Imam al-Hussein, same thing. He stood against the tyrant of his time, Yazid. But do you see something that is similar or the same with Imam al-Hassan is something that we're going to find out tonight, inshallah. One understanding that many people have is that when there are people who are loved by God, it should mean that you are not going to trial them or you're not going to hurt them. Because naturally, when you like someone, you don't want them to be hurt. You don't want to cause problems for that person. If you like a person, whether it's your mother, whether it's your children, whether it's your siblings, you don't want them to get hurt. Unless you hate your siblings. But the idea when it comes to God is slightly different. God trials the believer, the Muslim, in order for him to understand and reflect his life. The biggest example I can give you is the representatives of God. The Holy Prophet, nobody denies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved his Prophet. But if anyone who went through trials, it was the Holy Prophet. In Mecca, he went through trials and hardship. In Medina, he went through trials and hardship. His entire life was filled with problems. But the Prophet never turned around and said, Ya Allah, if you love me, why are you giving me problems? Instead, he realized that, listen, this is a trial from God. And the Prophet is an example of how to be resilient through these trials. Likewise, the Imams are example. In Imam Hassan bin Ali alayhi salam's case, like any other creation of God, he was tested. He had problems in his life. Those people who say that Imam al-Hassan had a very chill life, no, that's not true. Imam Hassan, at the early age of, let's say, 8, loses his grandfather, Rasulullah. 8 years old, the Prophet passes away, and the relationship between Imam al-Hassan and Rasulullah is cut, finished. How much you see the love between the Prophet and Imam al-Hassan is quite clear, where the Holy Prophet says, Al-Hassan wa al-Hussein Sayyida Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. These two boys of mine, Hassan and Hussein, they are the masters of the youth of paradise. So the love is quite there. First, he witnesses the death of his grandfather. Then after that, another trial comes. Very shortly, in the very same year, if I'm not mistaken, he loses his mother. Lady Fatima al-Zahra dies a few months after the Holy Prophet. A few months. He loses his mother at the age of 8. Imagine, I want you to imagine, those who are teenagers here. You're teenagers and you still have your parents with you. You have their guidance, you have their help, you have their support. But imagine, and I don't wish this upon you, but imagine you were a child and you lost the greatest supporter of you in your life, which is your mother. How difficult will it be? Imam al-Hassan at the age of 8 loses his mother and his grandfather. Further than this, when his father becomes Khalifa, according to the Muslim Ummah at that time, Imam Ali is the 4th Caliph. 25 years after the Holy Prophet, Imam Ali is given the Khilafah, the Caliphate. During the reign of his father, he faces 3 civil wars in 4 years. And this is challenging on the Imam. Why? Because the Ummah is in disunity. The Ummah is in what we call the fitna, dissension. It got to the point where Imam al-Hassan was alongside his father, where a Muslim was ready to kill another Muslim. A Muslim was ready to chop another Muslim's head off. It got to the point where Muslims were fighting amongst each other. It was civil wars. The first one is obviously Jamal. The second one being Siffin and the Battle of Nahrawan. 3 major civil battles between the Muslims during the period or the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, Imam al-Hassan was alive at this time and he was witnessing this. He witnessed the challenges of people disobeying Imam Ali alayhi salam, neglecting him. First they neglected Ali at Ghadir. Okay. Then when Ali becomes Khalifa, they wage war against Ali. Battle of Jamal, Battle of Siffin, Battle of Nahrawan. So Imam al-Hassan is witnessing all these wars. And he's a part in all these wars. He participates alongside his father. So for those of you who say that Hassan bin Ali lived a very chill life, I disagree. His life was filled with challenges. Then comes another challenge where his father, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, is assassinated. 19th of Ramadan, Ibn Muljam strikes on the head of Ali in the mosque of Kufa, and you hear the famous lines, Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. Imam Ali is assassinated, so Imam al-Hassan witnesses the assassination of his father, the martyrdom of his mother at 8, the death of Rasulullah, his grandfather, at 8. The challenges that, if anything, I would say he had a very challenging life and not a chill life. But Imam Hassan is the person who did not lose his principles despite the challenges. Sometimes when you look at the life of Imam Hassan, there are certain decisions where the very Muslims at that time questioned his decision. They looked at Imam Hassan and said, why did you make such a decision? Especially when he gave allegiance, as they say, or we say, the peace treaty with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, the Sulh. And the very Ummah questioned his decision, his integrity, and his ability to be politically active. Did Imam retaliate and fight them? No, he maintained his principles. Imam al-Hassan, to give you an understanding of the maqam, of the martaba, the status of Imam al-Hassan, because for many people in the other school of Islam, Imam al-Hassan is just a grandson of the Prophet. That's it. Imam al-Hassan is Nawai Rasul, and that's it. But within the school of Ahl al-Bayt, he's higher than that. Why? One of your greatest proof is Surah 33, verse 33, Ayat al-Tathir, where it mentions, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرَّجِ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى وَأَقِمْنَ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِينَ الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. Imam al-Hassan is mentioned in this very verse as being one of those who is purified by God. So when you say his relationship with the Prophet is just because his blood, no, there's a very ayah revealed about this man where he is purified. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Yes? In here it says, وَيُطَهِّرُكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. It's a purification which is thorough. And then in the other part it says لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ. It's to keep away all the impurities, which is one proof of the infallibility of the Imam. The famous historian known as Tabari, in his book, he mentions up to 16 different chains or references that this ayah was revealed in honor of Rasulullah, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. When we say Panjtan, or we say Ahlul Kisa, these are the 5 people that it's referring to. When you say who is Ahlul Bayt, your first reference point is these 5. Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. And the extension comes later on. Why? The basis of that is this very ayah. Now one might question, if Ahlul Bayt, or the people of the house, means the family of the Prophet, then why is the wives not included? Because your wife is technically part of your family. Salama provides, the wife of Rasulullah, provides a narration which very much rectifies this issue. When the 5 were under the cloak, Hadith al-Kisa, Salama comes in and he says, Ya Rasulullah, can I join you? As in, can I be under the cloak with you 5, so that I am also one where this ayatul tathir is revealed about? Rasulullah gives an interesting answer. He says, قَالَ إِنَّكِ إِلَىٰ خَيْرٍ أَنْتِ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِ النَّبِيِّ. You are upon good, you are from the wives of the Prophet. Which means that you are a good woman, Salama. You are a good person. But this ayah is strictly for these 5. So ayatul tathir is not about the wives and only strictly for these 5. Another ayah that is revealed in honor of Imam al-Hassan is ayat al-Mubahala. And I want you guys, as Shias, as followers of Imam al-Hassan, to memorize these ayahs. Ayat al-Tathir 33, verse 33. Ayat al-Mubahala, where it is talking about the delegations between the Christians. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. On the day of Mubahala, Rasulullah brings certain people to be his representative. A Mubahala is a contract or a deal with the opposing party where you look for the truth, you argue of the truth, and you say, listen, if I am a liar, may the curse or the mercy of Allah be removed from me. This is exactly the event of Mubahala. So the Christian scholars at that time are looking, who is Muhammad going to bring as his banat, abna'ana, as his sons, as nisa'ana, as his women, and anfusana, as his self. Who is he going to bring? On the day of Mubahala, Rasulullah comes out. There are 4 individuals beside him. 4. There is his daughter Fatima, who is known as Nisa'ana. Yes? Nisa'ana can mean, in the Arabic language, can mean more than one woman. But there's only one woman that put forward, and that is Fatima. Which gives you the idea that Fatima is alone the best representation of the Holy Prophet. Then he says, وَأَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ, the children, yes? My children and you bring your children. And we enter into Mubahala. The narration states that he grabs Al-Hassan on his arms and the Holy Prophet is walking and he's got Hussein on his other arm. And Hussein is walking with him. Al-Hassan is in the arms of the Prophet and Imam al-Hussein is walking with him. And the final one, and perhaps one of the most important ones, is Anfusana, is Amir al-Mu'mineen. So Imam al-Hassan, I'm trying to highlight to you, is not just a mere human being where some schools in Islam portray him to be. Imam al-Hassan has certain characteristics which make him quite astonishing. One of it is giving charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah 76 verse 8 to 9 says وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شَكُورًا. And there are those who give food despite their desire for it, to the poor, to the orphan, and to the captive. And when they're asked about it, they say that we feed you only for the sake of God. What's the context behind this verse? You see, when Imam Hassan and Hussein fell ill as children, they got sick. Lady Fatima made a vow. She made a promise that, Ya Rasulullah, your grandson or your grandsons are ill. What should I do? The Holy Prophet said, I want you to make a vow that if your children get healed, you will feed 3 nights in a row the needy, the captive, the poor. So what happens is these 2 children are sick and later on they become better. They feel better and they recover. Now Lady Fatima is trying to complete that vow. She's keeping that promise. So they begin to fast 3 consecutive days. The first day they fast and it's nighttime and they're about to break the fast. Those of you who are fasting Ramadan, you know exactly what it feels like. By 5 a.m. the stomach is grumbling, you want to eat, and the food looks amazing. No matter what type of food it is, even if you don't like it, when you're fasting, it looks good. It looks good. So this family is fasting, and it comes to the moment of iftar. As they're about to break their fast, there's a knock on the door. There's a knock on the door. An individual who happened to be a poor individual, a poor man. He comes, oh, household of the Prophet, I am poor and I am in need of your help. Can you give me something to eat? And Lady Fatima remembers that verse. Or remembers the vow, forgive me. So what happens is, everything that they had patiently waited for and created for themselves for that iftar, they gave it away for the poor. That night, the kids slept hungry, Lady Fatima slept hungry, and Ali slept hungry. Okay, not a problem. We'll fast tomorrow again. Because remember, the vow was 3 nights. The second night, iftar comes. Imagine, you haven't eaten. It's been 2 days you haven't eaten. So food right now is looking delicious. Anything you look at that is food, you're going to go crazy over it. But as they're about to break their fast, again, there's another knock on the door. This time, it's what? It's an orphan, it's a yatim, one who has lost his father. And he says, "Oh, household of the Prophet, I'm a yatim and I have nothing. Can you offer something?" That same night they give the iftar away. 2 nights. The third night they do the same, but this time it's a captive. When they do it for 3 consecutive nights, this ayah is revealed. Those who give food, even though they desire it. It's not to say that Ahlul Bayt did not desire that food. Of course they wanted to eat it. They're human beings. They go through hunger just like you and I. But there is something that we call principles for the sake of God. And Imam Hassan was exactly the one that was referred to in this ayah alongside the others. And when the Holy Prophet, who was asked that, "Listen, Ya Rasulullah, you brought us Islam. You gave us the best religion that we could ever get. What can we give you to thank you? Or how can we compensate you?" And the Holy Quran mentions the ayah, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمُوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. The Prophet said, "Look, I don't ask of anything from you. Just be nice to my family. Just be kind to my family and show love towards my family." So showing love towards the family of the Prophet is wajib. It is compulsory. One who does not really has to think about his akhirah. Now, this is the lesson that Rasulullah taught. And as we know, the greatest students of Rasulullah is none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So if we were to conceptualize Islam as a university, the professor being obviously Rasulullah, the students and the graduates would be Imam Ali, Hassan and Hussain. And the greatest graduates were these people. It's no surprise that we see these qualities in Imam al-Hassan. It shouldn't be a surprise. Why? Because he learned it from his father and him from his grandfather, Rasulullah. There's a verse in the Quran which says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ رَعُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. There are those who sell their souls for the pleasure of God. Soul. Some people, when they see a bullet, they lose themselves. When they see an injection, when you go to the doctors, some feel the injection. Like, "Doctor, I don't want that injection." Or some, for example, they go to get an x-ray for, let's say you play football and you do your ACL. The pain is out of this world. But there are those, the Quran says, who are ready to sell their soul. Not just your physical body. Your physical body is just one aspect of your existence. When you're ready to sell your soul, that's a level above. This ayah, for those who sell their soul for the sake of Allah, is referring to Amir al-Mu'mineen, where he slept in the bed of the Prophet on the night of Hijrah. When the Prophet wanted to migrate from Mecca to Medina, because the Quraysh wanted to kill him. And he ordered to Ali, he said, "Oh Ali, I want you to sleep in my bed tonight." Why? Because the Quraysh are here to plan or plotting to kill me. Now, I want you to concentrate on the reply that Ali gives to his prophets. And I want this to be a lesson to us as well. He says to him, "Ya Rasulullah, awa taslam ya Rasulullah." O Prophet of God, will you be at peace or will you be safe if I do this? And the Prophet says yes. And Imam says, "Ruhi li ruhika al-fida wa nafsi li nafsika al-wiqa." Then may my soul be burned in your soul, and then may my spirit burn in your spirit. Which means that as long as you're safe, this body is for you, Ya Rasulullah. I don't mind sacrificing myself. As this is happening, there's a conversation that's happening in the heavens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to his angels, Gabriel and Mikael. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks his angels, Jibreel and Mikael, you are one of my greatest creations. But I want to ask you a question. You are brothers of one another, Jibreel and Mikael. Which one of you is ready to give your life for the sake of your brother? He asked this from the two angels. The angel said, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen, we love each other, but we prefer that we keep our lives and we continue to worship you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then look down on earth a man who is ready to give his life for his brother. And that is none other than Ali. To which Jibreel says, Man mithluk, ya ibn Abi Talib. Who is like you, O son of Abu Talib? There is no one like you where you're ready to sacrifice your entire life for the sake of your Prophet. When you call yourself a Muslim, Islam, taslim. Islam, taslim. Islam is the religion. Taslim is when you submit to God. That's what it means to be a Muslim. A Muslim is someone who submits to God. And through submission to God, you submit to the representative of God. In other words, his Prophet. Imam Ali, his greatest feat was his submission to God. How? This night. As I said, Hassan is the student of Imam Ali. So when Ali does something like this, it shouldn't be any surprise if Hassan does. Because sometimes the apple does not fall far from the tree. And I'll conclude inshallah because we don't have enough time. One of the laqab, or I should say the attributes that is given to Imam al-Hassan is he is known as Kareem Ahlul Bayt, the most generous of the Ahlul Bayt. It doesn't mean that other members of the Ahlul Bayt are not Kareem, they're not generous. But there's a specific title given to Imam al-Hassan which makes him stand out. And one of the reasons as to why he's given this title is through the following story. One day, a man who is needy, he needed something. He may have been poor, he may have been in a situation where he needed a favor. He comes to Imam al-Hassan and he's thinking to himself, how, and it's a public space, just like this, for example. He comes to Imam al-Hassan and he wants to tell him about his issue and he wants to ask him that, oh, grandson of the Holy Prophet, I need something, can you help me? But it's not easy to ask someone, especially publicly. Why? Because it hits the ego of a human being. Why should I ask this person? I'm no less of a person to be asking him. Sometimes happens. So Imam interestingly notices this. Because many of us, when we look at someone who needs us, we may help them out, but after that we expect it back, don't we? We help a friend and we're like, I had your back in those days, I expect you to have my back. You know, we are brothers of one another, or I scratch your back, you scratch mine. There's a term, you've heard of it. But there's a difference between Imam al-Hassan in his approach. He notices that the person who is coming to ask something, he looks at me and says, oh man, I want you to write your request on that piece of paper. He writes his request on the piece of paper, and then after that, Imam reads that piece of paper. He reads the piece of paper, and he realizes this is how much the man is asking for. What the man was asking for, Imam gives double the amount. Imam gives double the amount the man was asking for. Now the people around him are thinking, wow, that paper really did a good job. Because the paper did a really good job where the man asked for something, he got double the reward. So the paper must have done a really good job. Imam al-Hassan said, no, it is Hassan bin Ali who is blessed. Why? Because it is through the help of this believer of God that Hassan bin Ali did something good for the creation. Notice something. He says, it's a blessing that this man has come to see Hassan bin Ali. He's not saying, I'm a blessing for this man. No. The man who is needy is a blessing for me. I, Hassan bin Ali, am blessed by your presence because you needed something from me. Because of you, I could do something good. And he said that I feared that if I made him speak about his will or his request, then I would put him ashamed in front of people. Because naturally, when you ask in front of people, you're letting down your ego. Look at how much levels Imam Hassan goes through. In another line, he says, whoever seeks your help has honored you by putting your trust in him. So the best way you can keep that honor is to not betray him or let go of his trust. And to conclude, there is no person when it comes to generosity like Imam Hassan. May Allah allow us to give or receive the shafa'ah of Imam Hassan on the day of judgment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.